Listener discretion is advised.
The opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the individuals, and they do not reflect any official view of the United Steelworkers, USW Local 105, or its officers or sub-board members for officers.
Now, from the banks of the mighty Mississippi, this is Steel Revolution.
Hello, podcast listeners, and welcome to Steel Revolution 89.
8-9.
Our podcast for March with the three amigos minus a princess. I'm Roy Hutt.
Shawn Geisens.
Brad Grieve.
Hi, I'm Mike, but I'm not here.
I almost thought he was here.
Somebody fix my microphone.
Good impression.
You do it better, though. Maybe later on you can do your best Mike.
Yep. Moving on to some local news. In April, we will be holding arbitration, be at the end of April. On the front of recalled employees, we continue to press the company to recall employees to backfill for openings and retirements. So we'll keep on pushing them. We believe that the plant is in need of recalling some, if not all, of our laid off employees. On the laid off employees, you should have received recall forms mailed to you from the company. They need to be mailed back to the address that's on the bottom of the form. Those forms need to be turned in by the end of March to remain on the recall list. On COVID news, the plant will be having a vaccine clinic the week of April 5th. There are 3 ways to sign up. You can scan a CQR code. You can, you can text the word Arconic to number 94554. And you can also use a kiosk in the plant. And isn't there
There's number 4.
there's a 4th way, Brad?
Number 4, if you're on the overtime sign-in page, there's a link down there, like next to the links for your overtime reports. And basically, you can do the same thing there and sign up. And then you have to get the COVID vaccine consent form filled out. I was struggling with this and why it was so important, but I guess Hy-Vee wants to have all the data entered in, so there's no messing around like we do with flu shots trying to get your insurance information. So all that will be entered. You'll come in and it should be a quick process. But anyway, get that in, and you got to get your form up to medical, and they will review it and make sure it's filled out correctly. If you're having trouble with any of that, give us a call down here or call medical, and we'll help you get through that and make sure the people that want this vaccine will get it. So again, a week of April 5th, and the department will let you know when you are scheduled for a medical appointment.
Yeah, again, it is not required, but we want to make sure everybody that wants one knows what to do in order to get one. In other local news, local officer nominations was at this week's business meeting, and the ballots will be mailed out to membership in early April. We also talked on the last podcast, we do have our new pint glasses that just came in today. So it's the
That's
Steel,
it right there. Yeah.
Steel Revolution logo on there with somebody had the great idea to put official listening device on it.
And thank you very much for that.
You're welcome, Shawn.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
I make a great stocking stuffer for the holidays that are a few months away. Get them while they're here, though.
Yep. Speaking of only months away, there is, well, I should say days away, 400, somewhere around roughly 422 days until this current contract we're working under expires. Please keep in mind saving up and getting ready for negotiations. Let's take a little break, listen to some audio of Vice President Dave McCaw at an ATI rally. They're getting ready for their contract talks, and we know last time they had difficult contract negotiations there at ATI. So let's listen to that, and then we'll come right back.
Listen, this really is, the companies decide they're going to put a little more money on the table, but they want you to pay for your health care, and they're saying, just work a couple extra shifts. It's not all that bad. Well, next time we're in negotiations, it'll be a hell of a lot worse. And then they want to contract out our jobs, even when people are laid off. Let's talk about security issues. Let's talk about what we deserve. Y'all haven't had a raise since 2014, and they want to give us a couple of bucks and have you pay for your health care. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. We need our solidarity. We need to stick together, and we need to make sure they understand they got $650 million in their cash drawer right now, and they don't want to let loose of a dime until they can make sure that they pay the executives millions of dollars a year. So this is a good fight. It's a good fight for what's right, and we need to stick together and have solidarity about this.
Solidarity.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, back after that audio. Brad, did I miss any local news?
Oh man,
With the local news.
local. Nope, we had business meetings this week, as Roy said. We got some issues out there. We're working on some crane safety issues. Pretty serious stuff, and just maintaining our cranes with people underneath of them. It's critical. So we've got some issues out there that we put in front of the company again this morning. There will be a partnership meeting for the machine shop, which will cover some of that, and then we'll do a follow-up meeting. Try to get to the bottom of how we can improve our crane auditing and PMs.
All right, moving on to the area news. There is endorsed candidates from the Quad City Federation of Labor for Illinois general election. And let's see, going down City of Moline, 4th Ward, Matthew Timmon. 6th Ward, Pat O'Brien. Rock Island, 1st Ward, there's a dual endorsement. Moses Robinson, Jason Hayes. And in 5th Ward, Dylan Parker. East Moline, Yeo Frederick Kotuko. And Amy Breeding. Rock Island School District, Gary Rowe, Natasha T. Leshore, Tracy Pogue, Fitz Larson for Blackhawk College trustee Fitz Larson, Kimberly Stevens, Jeffrey Swan.
If you live in Illinois, get out and vote April 6th.
Moving on to some other news. That's a union that's dominating some headlines. Ford Motor Company decided not to honor promises to add new production to an Ohio assembly plant in Avon Lake, and instead the automaker intends to farm out jobs to Mexico. That was written by top UAW union leadership. The Ohio assembly plant employs somewhere around 1,700 hourly workers. Letter written on union letterhead, which copied UAW President Roy Gamble, and the labor organization's top 2 lawyers said Ford is expected to honor its contractual commitments to the UAW members, and when it fails to do so, that they will take action. So noted UAW Local 2000 worked hard to get Ford to commit to $900 million investment to revitalize the plant near Cleveland for production to be added in 2023. It was an estimated that 1,700 hourly workers work there now, and the plant builds E-Series vans, Super Duty chassis cabs and medium-duty trucks. Also, the House has passed the PRO Act. Again? That'd be again? Be twice now?
Yes.
That it has passed the PRO Act. So, it's important to call your senators at 877-607-0785. Makes it easier for people to organize and have a union. Also has steeper penalties for companies that try to not have a union or retaliate against workers for trying to join a union, and also requires non-members or scabs to not get a welfare off the union or free rides. It requires them to pay their fair share. With that, I believe that President Biden had some audio in regards to the PRO Act and unions and the organizing effort of Amazon workers in Alabama, right?
I've long said America wasn't built by Wall Street. It was built by the middle class, and unions built the middle class. Unions put power in the hands of workers. They level the playing field. They give you a stronger voice for your health, your safety, higher wages, protections from racial discrimination and sexual harassment. Unions lift up workers, both union and non-union, and especially black and brown workers. I've made it clear when I was running that my administration's policy would be to support unions organizing and the right to collectively bargain. I'm keeping that promise. You should all remember, the National Labor Relations Act didn't just say that unions are allowed to exist. It said that we should encourage unions. So let me be really clear. It's not up to me to decide whether anyone should join a union. But let me be even more clear. It's not up to an employer to decide that either. The choice to join a union is up to the workers, full stop. Full stop. Today and over the next few days and weeks, workers in Alabama and all across America are voting on whether to organize a union in their workplace. This is vitally important, a vitally important choice as America grapples with the deadly pandemic, the economic crisis, and the reckoning on race. What it reveals the deep disparities that still exist in our country. And there should be no intimidation, no coercion, no threats, no anti-union propaganda. No supervisors should confront employees about their union preferences. You know, every worker should have a free and fair choice to join a union. The law guarantees that choice. And it's your right, not that of an employer. It's your right. No employer can take that right away. So make your voice heard. God bless you all, and may God protect the workers and their families who are trying to figure out how to make it fairly. Thank you.
So, strong words, but the proof will be what the President Biden gets done, which there's no greater bar, I guess, to know whether or not you're supporting union workers than to get the PRO Act passed. So hopefully manage to get that done and get through the Senate now, since it's made it through the House, and hopefully onto his desk to sign. Other news, voters in Montana and unions in Montana have made it so that they ended up not passing right to work in Montana. So huge for unions in Montana sticking together and making sure that right to work didn't come to Montana. The new stimulus bill that was passed did have the Butch Lewis Pension Protection Act in there. So that will protect pensions in this area. I know firsthand that multi-state pensions,
multi-employer pensions.
So that most of the people in the area would be from Teamsters that it would affect. It does affect, I believe, somewhere around 120,000 USW members, it said in a rapid response report. So good to have some protection for those folks, because their pension could have been drastically lowered. And at least for, I know people that would have been in my dad's position with the Teamsters. They didn't have most of those guys, old timers, didn't have 401ks. They were, solely dependent on their pension, which now my mom's dependent on. So glad to see that was in there to help people that, that was part of their contracts, part of what they were working for. So it's good that they have some protection there. Also in the new, as I seen somebody call it, stimmy bill, the new stimulus bill, there is a part in there that a certain amount of unemployment benefits was tax free. Now, I'm no tax expert, but my tax guy called me and said, hey, we don't know what that means. We're waiting on it. Unfortunately, it seems like ended up making too much money to take part in that, but we did have quite a few people out at the plant that did get some sort of unemployment benefits, and you may end up qualifying for that. So that's something that I would say check in with your tax professional. I will say again, I'm not one, but you might want to check into that, because he was telling me that they would have had to amend my return had they went ahead and filed it without that being in there. So again, you guys out there, you might want to check into that. We mentioned before the Amazon workers. Of course, we said, I believe last podcast, Mike had said that it's pretty much all month they're going to be voting on whether or not to have a union there. But what I didn't realize until seeing something on that Charlie Wishman put on for the Iowa Federation of Labor, that there is actually an organizing drive in Iowa for Amazon workers, and you can find that on the Fed's website.
Right, but in Iowa, it's the delivery people, and what they're doing is Amazon's coming in to the areas, and then and they're competing against UPS. So I mean, we all know UPS is represented by the Teamsters, and it's a challenge to organize these guys, but they are going out and meeting with them. Usually there's a gas station close by to where they pick up their vans that they start their deliveries, and they've been catching people there. We do have some flyers that I can print off. Right now they're not in the Quad City area, but it's only a matter of time. But anyway, that you can put up if you are getting Amazon deliveries at your house, and to help them organize and know that the people support them getting a decent wage, and helping them organize.
All right, have some audio with that from Charlie, even though Brad, you may have been a little bit more detailed, but let's go ahead and we'll listen to that. Come right back.
Hi, my name's Charlie Wishman. I'm president of the Iowa Federation of Labor, AFL-CIO. A lot of people have been asking lately how they can help Amazon workers organize in Bessemer, Alabama. But the cool thing is that we've got an organizing campaign for Amazon workers going on right here in Iowa right now. It's led by the Teamsters Local 238, and it's really easy for anybody to get involved. If you're an Amazon user, all you have to do is go to workersessential.org and print off under the community tab this flyer. And under, if you'd like one that's union printed, like the one that I have here, get a hold of us at the State Federation. We have some that are union printed as well. But it's super easy. When an Amazon driver comes and you're expecting a delivery, all you have to do is go ahead and print this off and stick it on your door. And the driver is able to scan this QR code, which will take them to workersessential.org, where they can learn more about organizing, learn more about how they can get rights on the job, and build power for workers like themselves and their coworkers. So again, go to workersessential.org, print off a flyer like this. When you see Amazon driver coming, stick this here, and they can scan the QR code and learn more about building power for workers. Thank you.
Listen, this really is a...
So what you couldn't see, because it was a video, is that he's got that paper and he puts it on the outside of his door. So when you get Amazon delivery drivers coming up, they can scan that code and get the information. Doesn't really translate to radio, does it, Shawn?
We'll work with that. It's all right. It's a theater of the mind, so.
Well, Grieve, getting down to the end.
Well, hey.
What's that?
You gotta play your your interview.
Yeah, we got that.
You're gonna do that. You're gonna do that at the end.
You got any other news, Grieve? Did I forget something? I feel like I forgot something, but I can't think of what it is right now.
Nope, I'll just put out another plug out there for people to sign up for the COVID vaccine. This is, again, voluntary, but it's a community thing. The more people we get vaccinated, the less chance there'll be other variants, and the less chance we have people getting seriously ill and in the hospitals. I know there are some people out there that are wary of the vaccinations, but you're not seeing any big issues across the country, and we've vaccinated a lot of people so far. I know I have family members that have been vaccinated now for about 4 weeks ago. They got their second shot, so haven't seen any adverse effects. So that's my recommendation, is to get out there and get the forms filled out and get vaccinated. Here at work, we're working on trying to figure out how we can get family members involved, but allow them. But I think on April 5th, things are going to start to open up. But again, the more people we get vaccinated, the more we can open up our schools, our communities, and people can get back as close to normal as we're going to get to for a while. But and the risk will be down if we get vaccinated. So that's all I got, Joy.
Yeah, the place over, if you're over in Iowa, Maine and Locust Pharmacy, like them on Facebook. They've been getting people in and out. Also, there was one in Milan that even had a hard time distributing all the vaccines they had. It was in was that in Camden Park?
The Camden Center. Yeah.
Was that not the Milan Community Center
No,
anymore?
they changed it. It's the Camden Center.
Shows how long it's been. I knew it changed, but I don't drive by it all the time.
I drive by it too much.
So there's some available, like Brad said. We've got people at the plant that can. But family members don't have that ability there out at the plant. But it seems like it's getting out there.
Yeah, and don't forget, if you're on short-term disability or if you're laid off, you can get your name in there, and they said they would schedule you for one too. So. And I asked about the insurance issue, and they're going to work through that and take care of that, especially for the laid-off people that may have, after 6 months, don't have any health care benefits. So it is an opportunity for a lot of us, and there it is. If you have questions, give me a call.
All right, we got some audio from a woman of steel, and in observation of International Women's Day or Month. We got our own interview with Bonnie Carey. She's a retiree from Local 105. And hear her story about being a woman and working at the plant, and what she got out of being a union member and being active. And now that she's retired, she is the District 11 board member for Soar and runs our local Soar group. So little bit of an interview from her, and it's an interesting story to hear how the plant's changed throughout the years, and her perspective of being a woman and working at the plant. So we'll be playing that audio, and then we'll wrap the show up. All right, joining us on the podcast today is Bonnie Carey. She's a USW Local 105 retiree, and she's currently Soar District 11 Executive Board Member. Thanks for joining us, Bonnie.
Thanks for inviting me.
So we always like to get to know people when we do our interviews, so please tell us your different roles that you had with our local, and how long you worked at the plant, in what departments, and then also what jobs you did.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Question.
Yeah, I should have broke that up more.
Yeah, you should have. Okay. Well, first I hired in July of 1978, and I hired into the plate mill. I worked as a servicer back then, or laborer, I'm sorry, is what they called us. And and then from there I just went up. I became over the years, I was, let me list this. I was a laborer, a helper, a saw helper, and a plate helper. I was a saw B, which ran the little band saws. I was a mill A. I was a trucker, a crane operator, ultrasonic, and I was a temper acting supervisor at one time. That's the jobs I held in the plant. But if you want to ask about my safety jobs and my union jobs, that's a whole nother. Okay, my safety jobs, I started off doing training. I was training the truckers. I started working with some new programs. I was surprised that they weren't getting enough information on how to check a truck before they started and giving them safety rules before, because when I hired in, you rode with another trucker and he said, don't do this, don't do this. And we really didn't have any good training at the time. So once I did that with the trucks, they asked me to do it with the cranes because I was a crane operator. So I started doing all the training for the trucks and the cranes in the plate mill. And then, let's see, what else? So I ended up being a safety rep in the plate mill. And from that, I got on a fall prevention team. And that was because my husband actually was in the pit when Mr. Walker fell in that pit. They started it, and he died 10 days later. And they started a fall prevention team. So they asked me if I would be involved, and I thought it would be a good idea. So I ended up being on the plant-wide fall prevention team. So fall prevention in the plate mill and the plant. So I did audits and that for safety. And then my jobs with the union. Not only a safety rep, I was a safety rep. I was, my first elected position was I was a trustee.
Okay.
But along with the trustee, I was the rapid response coordinator for first my department and then the plant. And I was the political coordinator for the plant. I was I wrote this down. The political coordinator, the Women of Steel coordinator for the department and the plant. I ended up doing the truck and crane training and new employee training, also with safety. Let me get all this right. So, and politically, ready for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Once I was a plant-wide political coordinator, I went to work for, I think it was in the Gore campaign. Mm-hmm. And they asked me, they called me and they said, Bonnie, Larry Schultz says, we have this job, and he knew I had kids and I didn't want to work the weekends because Don was working overtime and that. So he said, I got this perfect job for you. He said, it's 5 days a week and you don't need no overtime. He said, just 5 days a week, but you got to work out of the Quad City Fit. And I said, that sounds great. And I said, that'll work great. I ended up working 6 and 7 days a week, and I don't know how many hours and nights, but I loved it. But anyway, from there, I did that for the plant. I worked with the USW people. And then the International asked me if I would work doing political activism training and coordinating for the district, or for Iowa, I should say. So I went on from here, rapid response political, to go to the UFCW and the Quad City Federation of Labor, work with them. I was on the board of the Quad City Federation of Labor. When I retired, I was on the board. So, and then I've done a lot of political training with the steelworkers. I've got to do so many fabulous things. And then when I retired, I actually did leadership. They asked me to do the leadership training, and I told them, well, I'm going to retire in a couple of years. And Bob Bradlich was our district director, and he said, Bonnie, I know you're not going to retire. He said, you may retire from the plant. And I said, yeah. So I don't know who else has done it, but he said, well, you go ahead and do this leadership, and you're going to do it when you're retired. I finished my leadership as a retiree, but I got involved with SOAR from there. There was no really SOAR group here, and so I fought to get that. It was a struggle, but we got some good activists, and so we ended up getting a SOAR chapter here. And then I ended up helping with the district, and they asked me to be the coordinator. I don't remember what year, about 3. I don't know, maybe 8 years, something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we still use that to try to get people roped into helping political. Now, you know, hey, you might have a little bit better of a schedule, so some things don't change.
Yeah.
we still do that when we try to get people interested, no different than what happened to you. And
I did say Women of Steel, didn't I?
Yep.
Okay, that was an important one.
So with March 8th is come and gone, which marked International Women's Day. So what I wanted to talk to you about was you being a woman in the plant, and through the years, what challenges have been there through the years for women working in the plant, and what's changed, what's gotten better with that. And I know we spoke on the phone, and Brad had found a paper going through his desk, and I believe the date was, and I could be wrong, but it was 1954 or around there, and it was around a war. And going back, so this would go back before your time at the plant, but again, there was a paper, and it was, you know, the plant didn't have any problem hiring women, but if there was able men, then you were going to lose your job, and the men were going to come back in and work. And I know you had said that you had talked to somebody that went through that, and so I'd turn it over to you and have you tell the story about that lady.
Yeah, her name is Elaine Hubner, and when I hired in, she was running a crane, and I thought she was an older lady, but she was probably younger than me at that time. But anyway, she was running the crane at Two Tysman, and she was kind of quiet, but she retired soon after I hired in. But she came to our SOAR dinner a couple years ago, and I was curious about that, about what had happened. And her husband's trying to tell me, and I said, no, I need her story. So she usually sits back, and she told me that when they hired in, the women hired in, she said that they worked in, like they had them in transportation, running trucks, cranes, believe that or not. And so she said, what I believe it's the Korean War, that they couldn't find enough guys to work through all the war, so they hired the women in, and they told them that it's just a temporary job. So I'm not sure when the union came in, if the union was here at the time when the plant opened, you know what year. So it was right after that, because the women were hired, and I know the union was involved a little bit, but when the guys came back, they told them, well, you have to go now, you're done. Well, they lost all their seniority and everything. So she hired back later. She didn't get any of her seniority back from when she worked, but she hired back. And then she told me that when they were working back to before, when she was working in the trucks and cranes, they didn't tell them how much they made, what their jobs were. And they told the girls, don't talk about how much you made, because if you do, we'll fire you. So they were real, back then, women didn't speak up as much as we do now. And so she said they never talked about it. It was kind of but anyway, so Charlie actually told me later that the reason that they ended up getting equal pay, so everybody knew what was going, was when the union came in and they started job evaluation. And that's when the girls finally got paid what everybody got paid. So I thought that was a cool story.
Yeah, that is cool.
Cool.
And then, we were talking. So I would say you were kind of a groundbreaker when you got on to the saws, and the differences between, I would say, now and then, more physical labor, but you were able to push through that and prove that you could do that job. So I mean, how did that?
Well, let me go back to when I hired in. There were a few ladies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking one of the youngest women there when I hired in. They all called me kid. But when we hired in, let's go to that. When you hired in, you didn't go through an agency or talk to a panel or anything. You had to call in. We came outside the plant and we waited outside where that guard shack is.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd wait outside and then they would bring you in and talk to you each as you came in. So me and my friend Patty came out here and she got hired right away. Well, I needed a job. I was working for like $4.50 and I was going to get like $1 or $2 raise. And so I'm like, I'm single.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have parents or anybody to help me. I was on my own and I needed this job. And so we waited out there for an hour before they finally took us in to talk. Well, I never got a call back and we didn't have answering machines.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like tired of waiting. It's 6-8 weeks. I had another job and I was like, so I just called in every day. It was Merle, I think his name was. And I said, did you call me? I was out. So I bugged him till he finally called me, got tired of it, called me in and he said, I know you want this job, but how do I know that you're not going to let the guys do all your work? And I told him where I work now, I was setting up machines at a bindery, and I said, I ran a crew in the night sometimes. So I said, I didn't wait on somebody to fix machines. I had to do it myself. And he finally said, okay, we'll give you a shot. But I found out later from the other ladies, they got hired because they went to his church or somebody he knows knew him.
Right.
So I didn't have any link. I just bugged him to death till I got hired. So I'm sorry, I got carried away. Now, what was the question?
That's how my daughter got her job just now.
Bug 'em.
Was she just bugged them enough, and they ended up hiring her. No, we were talking about how you were looked upon when you won the saw bid. Is it the Mill A?
Oh, that was later on. But when I hired in, I have to tell you my first issue with a union person. I had union jobs before. Mm-hmm. And I worked at Sara Lee and I worked at Sawyer's Printing, and they were union, but I never needed them. I was young, I didn't have kids, I didn't have, never needed them, never thought about it. I was here my first weekend I worked, they told me I was getting upgraded because you could put a refusal in. Mm-hmm. So I was junior guy, my first day, they said you're upgraded, so I'd have to be a next job up. And the guy I worked with was a union steward, Mike Graver, and he goes, did they tell you you're getting extra pay? No, I didn't know nothing. He said, well, I'm take care of it. So he filed a grievance and I won the pay. So there I'm like, wow, my brothers are looking out for me over there. But when I hired in, there were other women there too. And I can't think that, I like the saw bits. I like to be active and busy and kind of work out. I told you it was my jazzercise. Yeah. So I worked the saw bits for a number of years. And I did have the saw operators ask for me because I like to clean and orderly and all that. So, but I got to where I ended up going up. And there were other girls. There was a couple other ladies that were running the crane, older ladies. So that wasn't new, but the older ladies weren't running the grab. The grab was the most intimidating crane you could run if anybody knows what those are. Mm-hmm. And so I got into that, and I really liked running the crabs. It was a challenge to me. I tell them it was like running those Pac-Man or something. Yeah. You know, it was a challenge. And that's how I ended up doing the training for the cranes. But when I hired in, it was you bid on a job by your seniority. Mm-hmm. So, but it didn't mean you went to the job you wanted to within that classification. That's where you went. But there were issues with, like when I hired in, I can tell you I got married. I hired in 78, and I got married in 81. And I had guys asking me, well, are you going to quit because you're taking some man's job? Well, I grew up in a single family. My mother died young, so it's kind of on my own a lot. So I told them, I will never be without a job. I am going to work here because what happens if somebody got a divorce? You're stuck. So I said, I am not leaving here. So I got comments about that, and I'm sure women did back then all the time, but you still have children to feed. You got to take care of your family. And there were some small issues like bathrooms.
Yeah.
Bathrooms, I can tell you that the girls got right up one time. Our bathroom at Center Gate was closed. Well, the men had a bathroom there. The men had a bathroom not too far right outside the Acme Saw. The men had bathrooms here. And we didn't have as many bathrooms, so our bathroom was closed down. They were doing renovations. So we had to go up to 800 and use the women's bathroom. And we came back later than the men, and we got it right up because we were too late back from break. And I said, we don't have access to what you guys have. And trying to think. The other women out there, I mean, we were a tough breed. There was a lot of dirty talk. There was, Pat's here, it was the first time I slapped somebody in the face, and he never touched me again.
Yeah.
And nobody else did either, so I think I'd let him know. But
I mean, you did mention with us talking, and we don't need to go.
I won't say names.
We don't have to go in depth, but what I found interesting, and I don't know if we have it anymore here, or maybe it's everywhere. But you had said that there were certain things you didn't like, or men said stuff to you, but yet your brothers in the union would come and take care of that.
Yes.
It wasn't the plant management or anybody else taking care of it. You would say something and somebody else would make sure that didn't happen again. I thought that was, awful that it happened to you, but it was good that it seemed like it was the way we want to take care of things. We want to keep it between us, and we want to keep management out, and we want to get it corrected.
It was perfect. If somebody messed with me, if I had a person saying bad things to me, and and I stayed away from that crew for a while, and the rest of the crew wanted to know why. And I told them, this man said some things, I didn't want to be around him. And they chewed him out, and I worked at the other end of the plant the next day, and I told the guy I was working with, and it obviously had spread. And this guy came up to talk to me again, and Charlie Clark, God bless him, he chewed him out, told him get away from me and leave me alone. And so every time I had an instance where somebody was being inappropriate, I had more brothers than I could name. They were so wonderful to work with them guys. There was, and us women knew there were a couple, bad eggs, and we knew not to, that we had protectors all over the plant. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
So, but I want to bring up, there's more to that too, because, diversity became a big issue, but, things that, look, I heard the dirty jokes, and I mean, there's a limit, and I enjoyed talking, and I told them when I retired, I missed hearing jokes and clowning with them at 9 o'clock break. I missed them guys. I called their break room when I first retired because I missed them all. But it didn't just go with women, because I worked with one man that was very religious, very quiet, very proper, just a sweet man. Well, they came up on the computers, and the what do you call them? Came up to all the PCs, or all the units. Then they started this newsletter, and they did it online. So you'd go in and click on Plate Mill Newsletter, right? Excuse me. So what they wanted to get the information was going. Well, I clicked on it, and there was like inappropriate jokes. Well, the guy that was making this thought these were funny, and they weren't offensive at all. Well, I worked with this very sweet gentleman, and I thought it was not appropriate that he would have to click on to see the news and see this dirty joke. So I did bring it up and said, we got to have some limits on what can go on these newsletters. And they did. They took it off, and they got rid of that newsletter for, I don't remember who the editor was, but So things that maybe helped me and other women, it's not just us. There's men that it affects, other people that it affects also. So when you make it better for us, you make it better for everybody.
Yeah. So you saw how, guys came to your aid, so you came to that person's aid.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
did
I
the
felt
same thing.
It was like a big family. That's how we, and I could talk days to you about that. But
Well, back to the saw and it was the NC saw at the time, and they didn't think you were going to be able. Some of the company was, let's just say, concerned you wouldn't be able to handle the work because of the physical nature of it, and
I
proved
them
wrong.
Yeah, they were worried. And here's what I told them. I said, there's been no other millets in here. So why do we all have all these places on the saw bed where the saw went into the concrete, or where the routing on 3 mil is all off wonk and you got to mud it in because it's wrong? I said, there wasn't a woman doing it, so obviously it was a man that did it. So everybody's going to make mistakes, but I can do it. So I proved him. I changed the router bit and the saw. And if there was issues, like I said, if there was something fixed for me, I had the millwrights saying, Bonnie, we'll make you a stand. We'll fix it for you. So it's like, you fix me, you help me, I help you. That's just kind of how it worked. And I want to add, many girls, I worked on one mill, but there were many girls afterwards that came behind me that ran them mills, and they did a heck of a good job. So it makes you proud when you see that. Same with the cranes. I had women that came in and that I did crane training, and then they saw me up in the grabs, and they said, and I had a few women saying, we figured if you did it that we could do it. And that probably made me feel really proud that the women felt comfortable that you can kind of show them, like Elaine did to me. Mm-hmm. You reach behind to pull up another sister when you go. See?
Right. And I'm like, we've covered everything on my list, and now in one way or another, now I'm trying to figure out where do I go with my next question here. We talked about the
women's role
experiences out at the plant, and I know we brought up you brought up like bathrooms, how that certainly changed. Now wherever there's a men's bathroom, there's a women's bathroom out there.
Or is there one for trans? I guess they would have. Do you have mutual bathrooms where it could be either or? I think they had one. That's good.
They've put that in, or put in another place whenever there's an area for those people,
mm-hmm.
or siblings as they call it now,
Whatever.
instead of brothers and sisters. What other issues have you seen like that? And you brought up another good one, and one that we just had, like being pregnant and nursing mothers. We just got another nursing mother room out there that our civil and human rights group talked to the company, and between both of us found a place, and it's way better than any place that's out there now. So again, an improvement. What other improvements did you see throughout your time out there that was differences that maybe the sisters out there now or we would take for granted?
Oh, well, the bathrooms, when they first had the woman that breastfed, they told her to do it in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. And that's really not a good place to do that. So, yeah, that's good. I'm trying, the hiring practice, of course, I think diversity is a great thing. And the wonderful thing is seeing these women run the mills, women running the trucks and doing the grabs and all the jobs. But the other thing I think is really great is I can't stop without mentioning Women of Steel. When I hired in, Jerry Kearns, our staff rep at the time, said, "You were so quiet." I was so quiet I wouldn't speak up at a safety meeting. I was so shy. And then you get more into this Women of Steel, and you go to all this training, and you have your sisters saying, "You can do it, go for that." We encourage each other. And I think that was a huge thing for me to show support, to say that why can't we do it and share with each other, support each other. I think that's a big thing, and I see your women is still involved in a lot, and I think that's a good thing because, as you know, like in the plant, I can tell you there were things that the guys couldn't do that I maybe struggled with, and they helped in, like the computers. Through safety. I did computer training, so I did every computer class I could take that when Elco was offering them. And so when there was computer issues, I still do it with Soar. They have trouble with signing up for this or that, and so that has been a big help to me. But just, I would say the training that's available to people. I don't know if they still have college available or classes available.
Yeah, I think that kind of went away.
Did it?
Yeah.
Well, I did mine because I was in safety and they needed somebody to do spreadsheets training. I needed to do spreadsheets of who trained and, dates and all that. And so they said, well, if you want to do it, we'll send you to the class. So I was like, yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take Word. Yeah, I'll take long documents. Yeah, so I did all those classes. So I'd encourage women to do as much training, all of you to do as much training as you can get, because that's some of the best training I got for later on. As in SOAR, my spreadsheets, I can tell you, I still use it. You asked women's roles in the union evolve. Let's do that one.
Okay.
I can say another reason I got involved was in, I think it was the 98 when the Battle of Seattle. There was supposed to be a group of 4 going in for the executive board. Some reason they couldn't. My sister was going to go. She was financial at the time, or job evaluation, and she couldn't go. And she said she couldn't find anybody that was interested. And they asked me, and I said, yeah, I'd be interested. So that is what really sparked me. Because if you go to when I went to the Battle of Seattle, they were protesting against the World Trade Organization. And we marched with grandmas. We heard speakers from all over the world of how corporations had taken their land, how farmers in the Caribbean used to grow crops for themselves, but big companies like Dole came in and bought them all up and made them grow bananas. So if something happened with their banana crop, they would starve because they didn't have access to what they normally would have grown for themselves. And then you learned about how hard it was for women. I heard of stories of women being raped or killed on the job, bringing their children on the job overseas, and the horrible things that are happening around this world. It just breaks your heart to hear what's happening. And I was just like, oh my God, this can't, people look at your union, but you don't see the big picture. Like the plants there used to be a plant, Jamalco, or the plants all over the world with the steelworkers. I remember them our salary people going over to Russia because they were building a plant. No, it was China. They were building a plant over there, and they said how bad it was trying to build this plant. The conditions were horrible. And then you're thinking, here we're fighting for a contract that's fair, but we're fighting against people that are desperate. And so when you start seeing how the inequities are in this world, and you see how grossly rich the CEOs, all them are, and you think that this is so unfair, something has to be done. People have to see that big picture to get passionate about it. And so anyway, I went to that and I came back, and that's really fueled my interest in politics and how simple a letter could be, or a call to your congressman or whatever. And they say it was the important one call would be like the weight of 10,000 or a letter, because they don't hear from their constituents. So I'm like, if it takes a call that's 2 minutes, call them. They're on my speed dial. I call them if something's up, the PRO Act, It's just, so you get passionate. I heard stories of men in India who are making all these cheap shirts that everybody wants. Mm-hmm. They're working on their sewing machines, and at night they work 12-hour days, and at night they sleep under their sewing machines. and because they don't want to spend a penny or two for a room that they share with 10 guys, because that's all the more money they can send home, hopefully, that their kids won't have to go through what they've gone through. It's pitiful. And so you hear those things, and you look at Walmart. I won't shop at Walmart, but you start thinking about, and I say this to this day when somebody says that's so expensive, and I say, well, how much would it cost you to make it? You need to think about those things when, people get so wrapped up on the cheapest price. It's the cheapest price in human lives is what it is. But anyway, so
we got
here it goes.
And we got a picture in the back, and it was probably out at some time, and it said what does it say? The real Alcoa, but it was a petition. I'm like, well, what's that about? And,
it was in Mexico.
Was that Mexico or Brazil?
I thought it was Mexico. I could be wrong.
Maybe.
I could be wrong.
But
South America,
it's Hubble, and
they would give them a piece of metal for Christmas to build their sheds.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that part of the story.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So it's like, we're your good neighbor, and then you say, as long as you can see what they're doing, but you don't know what they're doing. I also, you look at what these corporations are fighting over taxes, but we're paying for the government that's supplying the manpower and our troops to make the seas safe for them to bring all this cheap crap over. So anyway, I can get into that. But you asked for the women's roles. I should mention too, my sister Vicki and Lori Harms, Mary Tack. Right after I hired in, it wasn't too long, they opened up apprentices for women. It was a big deal. And Robin Orgeron, I don't know if she's still there, but they went into these apprenticeships, and I know they got a lot of gruff about it, but you women can't do this job or whatever, but they did fabulous jobs. They had their nails done, but they had gloves, and they did, they were really good mechanics. Also, Sandy went into, they were the truck repair mechanics, but they also opened up the mechanics for millwrights and a roll shop. And so that was a big deal. Women get to do all these jobs, and pretty soon you proved your worth, and it was a really big deal back then. So I don't think the girls realized that. I don't know what changed, what started that. Maybe it was a lawsuit or just diversity coming in. I don't know, but they opened it up to women.
Yeah, so before there wouldn't have been that many, or it wasn't open to them. And now, and I think that would be something that certainly is a big change and something that you would take for granted. Now, maybe if somebody's new walking in there, because now it's just you sign it, and if you meet the qualifications, you're fine. Or you can bid anywhere in the department or in the plant, and nobody raises it's based by seniority, and it doesn't have anything to do with you being a woman or anything else. And
it takes all that out. That's what I always say. Tell women if they're, and I don't know where you have, but you get disgusted. There was some woman was disgusted with her union. I always brag about 105. I always think this is a fabulous local and such a good local. And she said, my union doesn't do anything for me. And I told her, do you make the same pay as that man does? Well, yeah. I said, you have the same benefits? Well, yeah. I said, do you have insurance? Well, yeah. I said, then don't tell me the union doesn't do anything for you, because the union did all of that for you. Hey, I go to get my prescriptions, and every day I tell the pharmacy when I get them, thank God for my union, or I wouldn't be getting this medicine. So, I think we all take it for granted, all the things that have been fought for by these guys. And I was just a trustee. I didn't get into getting into contracts, and that was too much for me. I'm too. But you guys that fight that every day, I don't think we appreciate. And girls, I do think we need. I wish there were more women get involved, at the local level. But I think Women of Steel will help give women that confidence and strength, because they have so much to offer, so much. I think we all are a good team here.
Well, yeah, and working on even the nursing mother rooms, it's like I don't have that perspective. So it was trying to get the the women that were on that committee to go out and talk to other women that, you know, felt comfortable. Hey, this is the issue I had, or I had this issue, and I would like to see this changed or that changed. You just don't have the perspective unless you're that person or you're going through it.
I think there was a lot of things in the past that women just were afraid of losing their jobs, and so we didn't speak up. But as, thank God, the time's grown and men understand, they're women in the workplace, they understand more about how it feels, and you just support each other.
And when we think about it, every time we talk about this stuff, I realize how much it wasn't that long ago. No. These things were not that long ago, and try not to.
Don't tell me how old I am.
Try not to. You knew it. You knew what I was going to go. And I was going to say, don't be. You know, I hope I'm not the next person you slap. But you came into the plant the same year and the same month I was born.
You're a young man.
No, I don't feel that way. But I don't feel that way.
Well, you know, I came into the plant, and we just recently I talked to the lady I worked with. Was a little Japanese lady, and she's 91. So she worked out there in the plant. She was my helper, but she worked in the box shop. And so Tammy was, I don't think I knew very many people of Japanese heritage. And Sharon Rangel was out there, and she worked at IH and got laid off, and she came over there. And she's 81 or something. Loretta hired in with me. So, there were older ladies. What am I saying? Don't say older. A few years older than me, that were out there that did some hard jobs. But they were hard workers. That's all I can say. They were hard workers. And those girls are we all say we miss everybody. We want to come back to the plant to visit. But you guys are all gone. So all our guys are retired. But
yeah, I mean, it's like what you said before. There's people that come before you, and then you're standing on their shoulders. And like I said, the thing that still, like I'll say it again, this stuff wasn't that long ago. It's crazy. It seems crazy now that it wasn't that long ago.
And when one woman stands up and says this isn't right, I mean, you're making it better for the women coming behind you, and that just goes generation after generation. And so as the women get more integrated into the workforce, I think it's a better thing. We all have different talents that we bring to the workforce. So I think it is much better, much better.
Well, and then you brought down a bunch of history, so I'll be taking some pictures of some of this stuff, and we'll post it when we post the podcast, because it's interesting, especially some of the lineups and.
Yeah, can you believe that? 66, 1966.
Yeah,
I was 11 then. So I was young at that time. And then the last thing was you wanted me to talk about Soar?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I first time I went to the Soar, well, I heard about it from down here, and I saw... and I wondered how to get it going, and with the drama here at the time. But I had some guys out in Indiana that said, "Hey, we're doing a Soar class. Do you want to come?" Well, I didn't have anything to do. I was retired, so I took a drive down to Champaign and stayed in Illinois in District 7. They do their training down at the university. And they said, well, if you share a room with somebody, you're fine. So, yeah, I mean, I met some nice people. And they did a training for me, and they taught. It was really interesting. They did a practice when the company was on, you were doing negotiations like you guys were here. Well, they were bringing signs up. We would bring signs through the negotiating. Well, SOAR was training at the same time the district was doing their training, their job evaluation and all that. So we would walk through with these signs that say, keep our pensions, strong and whatever, or support the union, whatever. And so that's what gave us the idea here to come out and go with you guys. I said, just because we're old don't mean we can't hold a sign on a picket line. So
Right.
we actually enjoyed that. So anytime you call us, I can get you a group to go on a picket line. Anyway, so they got talking, and I thought it was interesting. And I retired at 52. I was pretty young, but I had good insurance, thank my union. I had a pension, thank my union, and I was just ready. And I had worked. Actually, I was going to retire actually on the exact date I hired in, but I was working a political campaign, and so I said, well, I have to stay working until after November because that's after election. So I actually got about half a year extra I didn't need to get. But anyway, I did this SOAR. I got more involved here, and I learned more. And as we all got together, and we saw how the vets were really in need of help. It was Jerry Porter, of course, leading that. And he's the vice president of this chapter. And so I just thought it was a great way for us to reach out. The people that joined SOAR were people that were active in the plant. So whether you had a safety rep, you had a guy that did tellers, or a lot of safety, a lot of activists, I would say. So that's who I went to first as an organizer, right? That's who I went to first to say, come join us. So that's pretty much our core group. And then as I would let them know what I was doing, and then somehow I got a call and asked if I wanted to be an at-large member at the SOAR board meeting. And I went to that, and it was very interesting, but I did notice it was all males, pretty much white males. So I asked them, I didn't see the diversity in that group.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can tell you now, I've been twice, so maybe 6 years, 8 years. I am terrible at dates. Anyway, so now on the board we have another woman on the board, and we got another one last time. So there's 3 women on the executive board of the SOAR, and the director is a female, and she does a fabulous job, Julie Stein. So there's more women at the upper levels of SOAR also. So. And there's great guys up there, but the purpose of SOAR, I will say, is to number one is to you want to educate and help your members. Some places don't have retiree groups, and they don't have help with their insurance, or they don't have help, or who do I go if my pension's messed up or stuff, right? So they come to the SOAR meetings, right? So you try to educate and help your members, right? And then you try to be involved, try to be active in the community, which we try to do by donating here or there when we can, when we raise funds. And also is try to educate them and be politically active, because as we know, politics is the king. It rules everything from the alarm clock in the morning to your phone, the wire, the electricity that comes through the lines. Everything is governed by boards, politics. It's all politics. And so when you retire, you're worried about multi-employer pensions. You're worried about your health care, Social Security cuts. So actually I have a mother-in-law right now. I'm having issues with the IRS and getting her. She hasn't got last year's funds back. And who do you go to? Well, I went to Sherry Bustos, and their office is working on it right now. So everything retirees need help with is politically driven. So we have to be involved in politics. So that's our core.
Right. Well, thank you for all you do for SOAR. And,
I love it. Thank you.
And what you've certainly done and contributed out at the plant when you were there, and here at the union. Thank you for that. Personally, thank you guys for showing up and at contracts. I've been more involved in the last 2 contracts, and I will remember, and Johnny driving back and forth, honking the horn.
Honking our horn. Jim Fletcher did too.
2 contracts ago, I will remember that. Remember, you guys had a big group at the end of the street there, closer to Bellingham, when we had our. You guys have a huge group, and you always say, no matter what, if you guys need us, let us know. We'll show up and help you out at contracts. So that was on here for me to thank you, thank all the guys that came out. It means a lot to have the retirees show up and help us out. And other than that, thank you for taking time out and coming down here and answering questions. And I love having you, Charlie Smith, and somebody, and then it's in this form, and it's not going to go away. And the history's there, to hear these stories and all that. So thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome, but I want to thank you, because if it wasn't for this local, I can't tell you how many times I have been saved or propped up a bad day, and you come down here, and I'm so grateful for what you guys. I know you're working. I know you have families. I know you've got time. You're taking time right now to interview me, and you probably got a million other things to do. So I thank each one of you guys too. I appreciate it.
My name is Roseanne Rhodes. I work at Elliott Company in Jeanette, Pennsylvania. Oh, I was a jack of all trades here. I started as an impeller finisher. That's sculpting the welds. Shot blast, I'm the queen of clean, I can tell you that. I worked in shipping, built in crates and boxes. I was like the labor down there for the boys that assemble this stuff and test them. That was quite an interesting job. Lost 20 pounds doing that. Being a woman of steel to me, is a sisterhood in a brotherhood. If you lack confidence, it will definitely give you confidence. If you didn't think you mattered or your voice or opinion mattered, it will show you that it does matter and how to go about enforcing that it matters. If we're good at doing it, let us do it. You're good at it, you go ahead, boy. Characteristics of a woman of steel: confident, open-minded, fair. A lot of the characteristics you'd want in a good shop steward, and a lot of good characteristics you would actually love to see in your supervisor. Don't forget my shirt. I raised 5 kids pretty close to by myself, and they were pretty tight in a row. I could have never did that as easily, as comfortably, if I wouldn't have had the welding experience and let alone a union job. Oh my God. I went into the Marine Corps when I was 18 out of high school. What's tougher, being a Marine or a woman of steel? Actually, they work hand in hand. The toughest part was Catholic school, the nuns. My name is Roseanne. I'm a proud mother, a proud veteran of the United States Marine Corps, and I'm a woman of steel.
Back after the interview.
Good interview.
Thanks, Shawn.
Yeah, no problem.
You know who's been quiet today?
Who, me? I'm not here today. I'm Mike.
I thought Greaves been pretty quiet today.
Yes.
Must be thinking about something else.
He's missing Mike.
Yeah, I'm missing Princess.
He kicked him off today. He said no.
Yep. I had to go to my Iowa City class by Zoom. Learn about green jobs.
Said no to Mike. No to the princess. Huh. Thanks for putting my microphone up, Shawn.
Well, I didn't know he was going to be gone.
Yeah, just a shout out to the University of Iowa Labor Center. Great classes they're putting out there on Zoom. They're available to not all their class. Some classes you have to register for and pay for, but they had a series here on Fridays, and today was green jobs. And I think the challenge here is transforming some of the older coal and whatever jobs to green jobs, and even in the electrical with the wind from the steam powered generators and things like that, and keeping those jobs under the union, and that's where that PRO Act it's going to help us. So we need to push hard on that.
Mentioning the labor center, I know it was out on the Fed's email, but Jen Shear will be moving on. So I would just say she'll be missed.
I have to give her a call, but it says taking a leave of absence. So, but she's going to be involved in a some job creation a group. I think it has to do with I don't know if it's minorities or what, but anyway, it's the lower end of the economy and trying to find things there and how we can get those people into the jobs and making a living wage. So, but yeah, I mean, Jen will be missed here, but Robin Clark Bennett should be a great asset. She's always has been, and she's stepping into that role of to run that labor center out there. So great resource, great education. Look them up online.
One thing I did forget, I knew I was forgetting something, and I knew I didn't write it down right away, but remembered it now. So when we talk about bills and things that are passed, Senator Chuck Grassley and Joni Ernst were sponsors of a bill to help people struggling and fixing their property and whatnot with the derecho. So it was similar to what you could do through the CARES Act with taking money out of your 401k, and you wouldn't be able to, you wouldn't have the penalty. You'd still have to pay taxes on the money, but you wouldn't have the penalty. They pushed that bill through, and it did get passed by bipartisan bill. For people to take money out of their 401k. We had engaged the company to see if they were going to take part in that. We eventually got word that the company had declined to take part in that due to the added cost that it would cost to administer that. We reached out to Senator Ernst's office asking for clarification to see if companies were required to take part in that. Finally got a response today from Senator Ernst, and she said that unfortunately that the bill did not require companies to take part in that. So she had acknowledged it wasn't the answer that we wanted, but hopefully it helped. So at least we did get that answer, and the senator did respond. So to keep it fair, I thought that was a good bill. If you needed help, it was there. If you chose to take part in that, but again, the Arconic chose not to take part in that for us. So disappointed that again, though thinking about contract, this company is not going to give you something for free. You've got to push, you got to demand, you got to stand up and show support for contracts and that to get anything out of these guys. And it's important to think about that in the next 422 days and try to save money and be thinking about the next contract.
Unfortunately, I forgot. We got the 401k. It was in the Forerunner, so they're switching from I don't know who it is now. Is it a Light?
Fidelity.
It's going to Fidelity.
Yeah.
Fidelity funds. So, there's some advantages, but it's going to be, I think, almost 3 to 4 week blackout. So, I don't really like that. We've voiced our concern, and the way the savings plan is set up. We have some say about the percentages that we can do here and there, and as far as what we can put into it. But as far as the management of the funds, the company has that ability to make those changes. So make sure you're aware of that. Take a look at what you think your best plan is, and it's sometimes just leaving it, and they're going to roll it and try and get it into a fund that matches up with where your money is. But anyway, want to make sure you're aware of that 401k change. Should have got a letter at home, but if not, maybe you heard it here. So,
all right, Shawn.
Yes, Roy.
Where can people find us?
Well, you know, if they're already listening, they already found us. How about that for you?
I don't like your attitude.
How about the other platforms they can find us on?
Yeah.
They can, of course, go to the Steel Revolution Facebook page. I think it's Steel Revolution 105. Still, I think. I don't think we never changed that, but it's Steel Revolution 105 Facebook page. Apple Podcast, Podcast Addict for Android devices, iHeartRadio, Spotify, radio.com. That's an app as well. Libsyn.com, Local's website, and the men's restroom here at Local 105 on Devils Glen Road. And get yourself a pint glass.
A new design.
Listening device.
Listening device.
That's what you need when you come in.
Exactly. And I think Brad was I the first one to get this?
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you.
That was loud.
It's a pretty sturdy, so
Yeah, you didn't break it.
that's good.
All right, then.
And they are for sale, correct?
They are for sale.
There you go.
Do we decide how much?
I haven't looked at the bill, but I think they'll be around $6.
And I will autograph, if need be, these glasses. Just saying.
Thanks, Shawn.
You're welcome.
Might take you up on that.
Thank you.
All right, and don't forget to say something good about your union.
Every day.
Till next time, thank you.
Steel Revolution is a production of Steelworkers 105, Bettendorf, Iowa.